Now, to end the first part of the debate from the government side, I call upon the government whip speaker, Mr. Benedict Leong, to make a closing.
Greetings and salutations to one and all. Let me just start my speech by just claiming that I am a Toastmaster. I used to study in art school. I used to study in science stream, and now I'm a university student in the arts. And I know what all these arguments are going about in this debate, because I am the living proof of how this education system, especially secondary education and its grading system, has benefited me. But that's not the point here today, ladies and gentlemen. The point here today, if I may allow, is to really show why our grading system for the secondary education in Malaysia is effective. Now, allow me to do that by deflating the arguments of the opposition team. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to start off, since most of us, if not all, are Toastmasters, that the second speaker went on about Toastmasters for about 4 minutes and never really mentioned much about secondary education. Now, the funny thing about Toastmasters, he even brought up pathways, is that clearly the opposition team has shown that it's not up to date with pathways, because, ladies and gentlemen, if you look at the pathways evaluation resource, on the second page of all evaluation resources in pathways guide, in the pathways education system, you have that 1 to 5, that grading criteria to what constitutes whether it's a good speaker or a bad speaker. We're not trying to say that, oh, perhaps the speaker in the future, because he got a 5 in one category, he can be as skilled as a speaker like Seki. But the point is that this form of grading system exists because it is fair. Everyone, all Toastmasters who are evaluated in pathways, they are given a score from either 1 to 5 to determine their competency, their aptitude, to which what my Prime Minister kept defining over and over again. Yes?
Alright, you mentioned about, I'm going to put in a simple formula for all of you to understand what he just said. Grading system is equivalent to exam system. Exam system is equivalent to education system, in short. But my question is this, I'm going to be on from my opposition leader the point of this. If the historical book is controlled by government and history is part of the education of Malaysia, my question is this.
Thank you for the point.
Yep.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, whether or not we want to include a certain subject or take out a different subject, that is not having anything to do with the grading system. That is the call of the education board. Now, even if, let's say, this grading system only has, let's say, 5 subjects or 10 subjects, they are still being graded fairly. They are still being analyzed, they're still being measured on common ground. Which brings me to the point of the first speaker. She even went to mention how Japan removes or censors a part of their history, causing international problems, and truly I sympathize with that, and that must be a horrible thing. But ladies and gentlemen, that is completely out of order. Whether or not coming back to Malaysia, for example, whether or not our country wants to include another 10 sets of subjects, or they want to take out 5 subjects, that has nothing to do with the debate. Our debate is only looking at the grading system. Is it fair? They never mention anything about this. Is it accurate? They never mention anything about this. Well, the first speaker of the government, the first speaker of the opposition, I correct myself, did mention, and to which I agree with this, that everyone is smart in their own way. I support what Albert Einstein says. Now, that is a very broad term. That is a very big topic that we can also debate on its own, but to zoom in on the scope of the grading system, to this particular pinpoint on how grading system works, is that if, let's say, a student is smart in maths, he's going to score well in maths. That's common sense. If a student is smart in science, he's going to score well in science. Now, taking that into account, I'm not trying to say that education, because this is out of topic, but just to counter the points of the opposing team, we are not trying to say that secondary, especially secondary education, the keyword here, needs to cover everything. That's why you have tertiary education, ladies and gentlemen. But secondary education, especially its grading system, is here to pinpoint how a student is smart or excel in certain parts in a specific field. For example, arts or science. Yes?
Are you saying that grading system is not part of measuring the real lessons about history? Taking the example.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, as I've mentioned this in my POI just now, talking about especially what the first speaker mentioned, how history, thinking about history is important. As I've clearly mentioned before, our current SPN and PMR has KEBAT, or the English version, higher order thinking skills. Now, if higher order thinking skills mean anything to anyone, is that it actually challenges students to think outside of the box. This creativity, which the second speaker of the opposing team so blatantly denies and uses Toastmasters as an example, when in fact secondary school students cannot join Toastmasters. Now, just to reiterate, even if history has a lot of memorizing, even if history needs a lot of evaluation or a lot of critical thinking, that is not part of the debate. Let me just make it clear. That is not part of the debate. How a student studies, what's the best way to study, what is the most effective and proven way to get a result. That's completely out of order. We are just trying to prove that the grading system is effective, that the grading system does not differentiate, it's not one-sided, it's not flawed. Everybody is being graded equally on the same sets of subjects, on the same forms of the respective areas that will contribute to their future fields. So with that, I would just like to reiterate on my team's points, which are proving why secondary education's grading system is effective. Now, number one, as my Prime Minister mentioned, the grading system allows students to know how good they are in a current subject. And my second speaker did mention that the grading system is completely just and fair. And finally, he also mentioned that the institution can easily discover or find out what works best for them based on the grading system. And with that, I stand down. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Benedict Leong. We now call upon the final speaker of the day for this session, the whip speaker for the opposition, Mr. Daniel.
We don't need no education. We don't need no thought control. No dark sarcasm in this classroom. This is sang by Korn, my favorite heavy metal band. Imagine somebody of that education level, which obviously failed in the grading system in the United States, had sung this in hope that he's able to restore some enlightenment and sense of truth in the secondary level of education. I'm going to show to you the difference between essentialism and existentialism. I know it sounds a bit dry, but bear with me. George Lakoff says this: make the thing what it is, and without which of would not be that kind of thing. Ladies and gentlemen, we are not today's Mihun, where if there is a missing vegetable, right, it has now turned into Maggi mee. It doesn't work that way just because there's a missing vegetables or egg.
On that point, the third speaker is not supposed to introduce any new arguments to the floor. Please justify yourself.
This is to justify and to strengthen, in fact, the opposition leader's argument.
Wow.
If Albert Einstein says this, the teacher is wasting time. If you can equate grading system equals to exam system equals to your education system. Ladies and gentlemen, we already have the government trying to influence you and your children that if the history has happened and you can easily remove from the book. Ladies and gentlemen, my question to the government is this: is there any impartiality in the grading system, just like what they mentioned? And every student, I'm going to emphasize again, if you label Just like what Soren Kierkegaard in Existentialism, he mentioned this. Once you label me, you negate me. Ladies and gentlemen, what I'm trying to convince...
On that matter, sir,
Yes.
have you not listened to my argument
Yeah.
on why our grading system is fair and just? Please pay attention when the speaker is speaking next time.
As I said, which is, thank you for reminding me whether I'm aware of what you said. I'm going to repeat myself, unfortunately, again. There's no impartiality in the government system. Imagine you are studying history and the government control what material that is in your history book. Today, your son, your great-grandfather, my great-grandfather was murdered by Japanese. Imagine this. When I pick up a textbook from the library in Japan, and I'm looking at the book and I'm seeing the removal of the entire massacre. Are you now saying that education requires no morality? It's all about grading, whether I can memorize what's in the history book and score? That is just sad, to separate morality and the children's education in the secondary school.
Yeah.
So, in the grading system, you only study what the grading system in the secondary school wants you to do. I'm going to give you one example of Steve Jobs. When he was in Apple alive, he went to a class of calligraphy, Chinese calligraphy, mind you. There was no any purpose, not the slightest purpose. Everyone laughed at him, you're wasting your time. And he went through anyway, through the calligraphy class. And what happened was, through this class, right, it has actually helped him to build very systematic organizer. Is there any calligraphy system, grading system in the secondary education in Malaysia?
Point of information?
Sorry?
Point of information?
I'm going to carry on. Alright. I'm going to suggest you an alternative as solution because the grading system of the secondary education is not effective. Number one, I suggest that there should be authentic assessment. Okay? There should be individual evaluation. Now let's just take an education that is based on grading system. It is very teacher-centered. I'm going to talk about the PT3 that our dear Prime Minister of the government had just mentioned. And he mentioned about standardization and being re-emphasized by his team member that there is a need to standardize everybody down to a water-soluble A4 piece of paper. Now my question to you is this. Let's just say, right, if you are able to do something that is not in the paper, have you now beat the grading system? Have you now beat the grading system? Ask yourself this question. Chef 1, a Singaporean, and Gordon Ramsay, who failed his entire life. In his book, where he explained how he got the 3 Michelin stars called Humble Pie. He was called Hopeless Itinerant. And everyone looked at him in life as a failure, as a 16-year-old boy. And you know what he did? Did he blame the grading system? You have labeled me failure. What do? Commit suicide? There's nothing else for me in life. What he did was, he moved out of the flat. And today, you have Gordon Ramsay, who was very smart, not because he studied this in a grading system which taught him how to score the F word, that had actually created Hell's Kitchen. And he's now today coaching celebrity chefs who are now going to follow his footsteps. Not because the grading system says you are doomed to failure. No. They follow somebody who was the product of the grading system being not effective. Today, ladies and gentlemen, Chef 1 has an associate degree in hotel management and culinary. Look where he is compared to Gordon Ramsay. Ladies and gentlemen, I only have one last thing to send across. Ask yourself this question. Imagine you are now a Malaysian student like me. Thank you.
And with that, the first section of the debate has ended. Both teams will now be given 3 minutes to prepare their reply speech, to which, in the reply speech arena, the opposition will present first and then followed up by the government. We now come back to the second round of the debate, and this is the reply speech arena. For that, let us start off with the opposition leader to make her final statement. Ms. Yeo Zudian.
Ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, we would like to say that we still stand on our point that grading system is ineffective in our secondary school, because grading system has everything to do with our education system. If not, why do we have grading system? And I think that this point should be taken, and I think that because of that, we should also take this into consideration of how it affects our education system and how it affects our children, our secondary school children. Now, if you say that grading system is effective, you're saying that grading system is effective in labeling students, and grading system is effective in encouraging rigid education system. Grading system is effective in encouraging conformity, all right? No thinking out of the box. And grading system is encouraging equating success to exam results. Why should success be limited down to just a piece of A4 paper with all your grades, and to say that you are A student, B student, down to F student? How sure are you, how sure are all of us about the impartiality of the government that can decide what is effective for a secondary school student through grading system? What we really need is not grading system. What we need is alternative. It's like what mentioned by my team member, authentic assessment. And because of all the reasons that it will affect our education system, it will affect our students, right, in terms of building their skills out of any academic skills, we oppose, and we will see that you will never find anything that the government doesn't want to be in the school syllabus. For instance, 1MDB in our history. And learning is all distorted. If you say grading system has got nothing to do with education, then why grading system? You are measuring how much the student learns, and you are measuring what the student is learning. So when you put grading system in the picture, it is not effective in measuring, because you are labeling the students and you are encouraging whoever that is behind the education system to put the syllabus down, and also to encourage the students to just study whatever that is in the syllabus. And again, we also want to ask that, we also want to highlight about morality. Why do you separate education from morality as well? Which is emphasis of a point from my team member. With that, thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Opposition Leader. We now end the debate with the final speech by the Prime Minister of the government, Mr. Dinesh Jayabalan. Woo!
I may not be a fireman, but I'm going to burn their stand down. Whoa. Ladies and gentlemen, 3-level analysis of rebuttals to the misleading opposition. Number 1, they misunderstood the motion by not emphasizing a lot on the grading system. Never mind, we forgive that. Number 2, they didn't explain how the grading system is not effective. Never mind, we forgive that. Number 3, ladies and gentlemen, side opposition today failed to understand their own burden of proof for this motion. Instead of explaining why the education system is not effective, they went on and on and on, bringing in external factors and diverting away from the topic. If this was a tall tales contest, they would have won, no doubt. Woo! Ladies and gentlemen, what has this done to them, right? But that's fine. Their third speaker comes up. I'm not sure if he got mixed up with American Idol audition, but this is not American Idol, so thank you so much for singing. Now, his entire argument for 7 minutes did not even rebut any point of side government. Why? Because our arguments stand way too strong to be rebutted. So thank you so much, the Mr. Opposition Whip, for not whipping us at all. Now, he kept asking us questions over and over and over again. When are we supposed to answer? We don't have a slot for us to answer his questions. So perhaps if you invite us to your club meeting, we'll come and answer your questions. Now, not only that, in the opposition team's reply speech, our reply speaker comes up and tells, how sure are you? How sure are you? 4 times. Let me answer you. We are very, very sure with the motion today.
Yes,
Side
sir.
government, we proposed this motion because we were sure that the grading system has been an effective system for all this while. That is what side opposition failed to identify. They were debating on a different parallel leading to nowhere. Now, why has side government obviously has won the debate? 3 main examples or 3 main reasons. Number 1, our arguments were relevant and rational, and we explained to you how effective the education system, the grading system is, and our arguments still stand strong. Number 2, our rebuttals shot them very strong. Well, they shot at their own foot a few times, and we shot them as well, and they failed to recover. Thank you very much. Third thing, ladies and gentlemen, a very important thing to note. We were the only team that spoke to the topic. We didn't divert out. For once in our lifetime, ladies and gentlemen, the government has done something good for you. We spoke to the topic. We didn't divert away. While side opposition was just too interested in going all over but attacking us. Ladies and gentlemen, a simple analogy. Do you see what's this? Right? This is what opposition was doing. They were focusing on this one black dot rather than seeing the bigger picture of the whole thing. We were trying to tell you how effective the grading system already is. But for them, no, other things are more important. They kept diverting out and out to the extent we didn't even know how to help them. Ladies and gentlemen, with this said, side government still stands strong. I, as the first speaker, laid the coffin for the opposition team. My second speaker came in, took all the arguments and put inside the coffin. My third speaker gave a tribute. I, as the reply speaker, now shut, seal, and nail the coffin. We came, we saw, we spoke, we conquered. Game over, checkmate. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister. Only the Prime Minister dare says things like that. We now have the judges. Gentlemen, we've had a tough debate today. The final debate's motion was that this House believes that the grading system of the secondary education is effective. This motion has been supported. Congratulations to the team, all single girls welcome, and also congratulations to Team Raw for getting the second place. And now with that, I call this debate to a close. We would like to invite the organizer and both the co-organizers to come to the front, Mr. Eric and Mr. Eddie, to come to the front to present the certificates as well as the trophy for the second place. Team Raw! Team Raw!
Okay. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Awesome.
Congratulations, Team Raw! Stay in the front of the group photo.
Okay.
First place. Where's the search for the first place? On your right. Oh. And of course, to the champions of the first Battle of Words organized jointly by Met Toastmasters Club and APU Toastmasters Club. Please welcome your champions, Team All Single Girls, welcome. They also get the Challenge Trophy, the Tiger Trophy.
Leave your phone numbers, can leave already.
Yeah, anyone wants handphone number?
Yeah, those will cheap.
Vincent, I think you hold the cert.
Guys.
The guy at the back of the stage, excuse me.
Okay, ready? My voice. 1, 2, 3. Now lift the trophy high.
Okay, all let's read.
Wait, let me take one also.
Yeah, it's not excited.
Ready, ready?
Wait. 1, 2, 3.
Wow.
Look
Here
at
also,
us.
two sides.
1, 2, 3. Okay.
I'm just being over bragging.
Yes.
Let's go.
Alright, thank you, Team All Single Girls, welcome. Can you please stay first for a while? Mr. Eric, we also need you to stay. For this particular award, because this person brought a lot of conflict to the debate, so we're giving him a box of conflicts. The best speaker for the day is Prime Minister or opposing leader, Mr. Dinesh Jayabharan. For all the conflicts that he has given out, he has to replenish. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Eric, for being a good host for today. All things said and done, in the finals, let me just make my statement. Let me have my moment a bit. It has been fun being your chairperson for 4 times. Yes! Yes! It has also been a pleasure that this has been graciously forced upon me. Yes! And despite having the opposition and the government today giving a fierce battle, both of them have agreed one thing, that Seki is a good trainer. So if you're interested in soft skills training, you can look for me. Thank you. I pass the time now back to the Toastmaster of the day, Advanced Communicator Gold, Advanced Leader Silver.
Yes, silver.
Silver! That means one step away from DTM. Srini